Please. Please.
Welcome back to another video and welcome to my channel if you are new here. This is my squidgy boyfriend Sean and...
Squidgy? Lockdown's been a few pizzas in lockdown.
No, I didn't mean like that. Anyway.
Played it in off the beers. I mean, that's 30 seconds you insulted me. Did you count that? Did you do a countdown? I think that was 12 seconds, like insulted me.
So in today's video we're going to be talking about how we bought our first home together. We're going to go into more detail about Sean's circumstance before we kind of met and how we ended up obviously coming together to buy the house that we are currently in. But yeah, we just thought we'd share some tips and tricks with you guys for any first time buyers out there looking to buy their first home, kind of have questions like I know I did. I didn't have a clue what I was doing, and if it wasn't for having Sean, I'd probably still be living at my mum's. So I've had some people send some questions in and we will talk about them towards the end of the video. But first of all, we're just going to kind of tell you, I'm really sorry, Pepper's there. We're just going to go into detail about how we first came to buying our first home and kind of where we were at before that all started. So I was living at my mum's house, paying very, very low rent, which really, really helped me save money. So I would definitely say if you can have the option of living somewhere with family, even if it's just for 6 months, you'll be really surprised as to how much you can.
Yeah, definitely.
You can save so much.
Do it for as long as possible. Don't worry about getting out on your own. It's not as soon as you get out renting, it's not what it's all cracked up to be. You spend a lot of money on everything for the day to day, so make the most of living at home, definitely. It
is amazing having your house, but it is a real hard reality of adulthood.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of bills. I mean, I was renting straight away out of uni, so I was quite brutal at the beginning. From the second I got a job, from the second I started living, I put £500 away each month and just learnt to live like that. So my first wage was minus 500, and every month without fail I was quite brutal with it, which means you've got to sacrifice a little bit here and there and go on a holiday for a couple of years, but it does add up eventually. And when you get a couple, you get a couple of grand, you get a couple more grand. So I was living in London, renting with my friends, and then I was ready to get on the market a little bit. Obviously it's very expensive over there, so I couldn't...
Yeah, London's like next level. It's crazy
next
prices.
level. So I moved out a little bit. I moved to Hawley, but still couldn't quite afford a proper mortgage all by myself, so I jumped on the shared ownership scheme. So I shared effectively the property with the government. I owned 55%, they owned the 45%.
So just to go into detail about the shared ownership, because I don't know anything about this, Sean obviously did that all on his own before we had even met, but shared ownership regardless is a 55% you own and then the government owns the rest?
Yeah,
or does that amount vary with
it varies on
whatever
you can do. So the minimum you could take was 30%, and then they work it based on how much money you got to put down, what your wage is, how much more you can take. So the flat was worth 250,000 and I owned 55%, so I needed to get my 10% deposit based on only my amount. So all of my figures were based on that rather than the 250, which means it's easy to get on the market, but then I did pay rent on the rest to the government. That's how the shared ownership worked. So I was paying £450 rent on top of a sort of £400 mortgage.
So you actually pay like a bit of rent and a bit of mortgage. So you do still come out with your own money.
Yeah, definitely. Because at the end of it, when I moved out 3 years later, the flat had gone up to 30 grand.
Yeah, so you then
So I got 55% of that. So I did very well out of it. It got me money, but you're paying into your mortgage, so you do get, obviously you get a bit of money back from that effectively, don't you?
Yeah.
The bit that you're paying in. So it definitely got us into this house.
Oh my god, yeah. We met and then we kind of decided after loads of long distance travelling, I mean we're what, an hour and a half away from each other?
Yeah. We just up, doesn't it?
Yeah, we just kind of decided. I was travelling up, like I work in an office, so I have to be in a set place, whereas Sean was kind of field based, so he was working from home and could kind of like travel around. But yeah, most Fridays I would be driving up from work and staying at Sean's house for the weekend, because obviously he had his own place, so we had our own privacy. No offence, Mum. But yeah, we just had our own kind of space, and then I'd be driving back on a Sunday, and then the same, vice versa. Sean would come down to me on weekends and we'd do the long drive back, and we started just to have that Sunday dread, didn't we? Like, we hated the drive. It was such a bane of our lives. We just hated it. It was so depressing. And we just kind of thought we might as well combine and come together. We were kind of knew that that was our long-term goal, and I think if it hadn't have been for the distance, we probably would have waited a little bit longer, because we did move in quite quickly.
We didn't want to start renting again. I didn't want to go grab a mortgage to go on a rent, so we thought, you know, so we put a little bit of faith in ourselves, didn't we? Thought if it's going to work, it's going to work. If it isn't, it isn't. Yeah. You know, as long as you stay in your place for a couple of years. We just started looking around our area. We didn't have a clue as to how much we could afford, so our first point of call was to get a mortgage advisor, and I was completely foreign to all of these things. Sean knew way more than I did, because he'd kind of done that whole procedure before. I mean, mortgage advisors are the best, because you need to get a mortgage advisor. They are worth every penny.
Yeah, highly recommend.
And you don't pay a penny. They get all of their fees from the other side. They know so much about the market, they can help you out quite a lot. Like, for example, I was with NatWest when I was looking at my first mortgage, so I assumed they'd be able to help me out the most. They couldn't lend me as much as anybody else, in fact quite a lot less. And then when I started speaking to a mortgage advisor, he said, you know, they've all got their little quirks. Like NatWest, for example, they lend a lot less, but then they don't lower the amount depending on how many more dependents you got. A lot of banks, when they give you a mortgage, they'll lend you a certain amount, and then you've got a dependent, so it'll be less, another dependent, less. Whereas in NatWest, lend you less at the beginning, but they're a bit more lenient towards having more dependents, so that's, you know, really suits sort of more of a family. So little things like that you'll never know just from looking around. Yeah, I think mortgage advisors are definitely a massive recommendation, definitely from the both of us. Like, she massively helped us. Not only was she lovely, but she found that she was raising up banks to us that we had never even heard of. So the mortgage advisor will ask you like how much you're spending on clothes, how much you spend socializing, your phone bill, any like outgoings that you have, savings, who did you get the savings from, can you prove who you got the savings from? Literally, they ask you every single detail. And she gave us really good advice, didn't she? Because you were paying off your braces. If you use some of your savings to pay that off first, before you apply, it looks better. You know, it helps you. They'll offer you a lot more. You know, again, little bits of advice. But just before, when you're speaking to a mortgage advisor, what they first do is get you a decision in principle, which is effectively a soft credit search and a little bit less information, really. Just this is what we're on, this is what we do each month, so this is where our money goes, so how much could we potentially borrow? Once you've got your decision in principle, you can try and find houses in the valley. You have a little look around, and then I had to sell my flat, so I put that on the market, and then you're basically ready to go. You put a deposit down, a deposit on a deposit, because we're on a new build. We had to put, was it $1,000 down to sort of cement our interest? Yeah, so also with the mortgage advisor, they'll probably advise if you should be going for like a help to buy scheme. I think is there quite a few schemes out there? Yeah, there's a few out there. Obviously the shared ownership, which I did, you can only do it on your first place, so that wasn't available to us. But the help to buy, we did discuss, didn't we? Yeah, we did think about it. Actually, I think we thought at one point it would be our only option to get a house, because we didn't have enough money. Definitely look at like the help to buy scheme, the stamp duty, solicitors fees. I don't know if we touched base on that quick. Well, again, that's a lot of money, a couple of £1,000s. So I would always say, like, I don't know, so for example your goal is to save 15,000 or 10,000 towards your house. Save that and then continue saving for another 6 months, just to kind of gain yourself a couple more grand, because it really helps. And if you don't end up spending it, then you can just put it into the house by furnishing the place, because like I said, that is a massive expense that you don't expect. Don't just think you're looking for a £200,000 house, so you're going to save 20 grand. It's just not enough. That's a deposit. Always, like Lee said, keep going. Just do your research. With our stamp duty, we luckily managed to kind of bargain in with the developer here, because this is a new build, and we had managed to bargain in that we wanted the stamp duty. We asked if the stamp duty could be included in the initial mortgage. So rather than us paying the £8,000 up front, which if we had have done, we wouldn't have been able to afford this. We managed. We had much less than we thought in the end, didn't we? I think it would have just fell down. I think that is sometimes a deal that can be had. I mean, it certainly was for us. So if you are looking at like a first time property that's especially a new build, there are definitely deals to be had with new builds, like 100%. Don't let them tell you. Get as much as you can, whether that's carpets, flooring, tiles, whatever. You can barter a deal all the time. And we managed to get our stamp duty included on top of our mortgage, which really helped us. But don't be afraid of sort of the credits that you can get. Interest-free credit is great.
Oh yeah,
You know,
definitely take advantage.
Next home is sort of just right out. Stuff might be a little bit more expensive, but interest-free credit, divide it over sort of 2-4 years. It's the only way to do it sometimes. We got some really nice stuff that we couldn't afford to pay up front, outright at the beginning.
So one question we've got are, what were your top 3 things that you wanted in a house that you bought? Ours are probably different, but you say yours.
I'll go first. So we definitely wanted a big south-facing garden.
Yeah.
Obviously, in our garden is.
Well, they're not necessarily big. We just wanted a south-facing garden, but we've got like a medium-sized garden. It's perfect for us. It's a decent size for a first home.
And also parking.
Yeah.
And because I work from home, we definitely needed enough rooms for a little office. Didn't we?
Yeah.
So it was vital. I wouldn't be able to work without it.
Ours was probably the same with the parking and the garden. Mine was probably just open plan living downstairs, which is definitely what we've managed to get. So did you guys go for a new build?
We did indeed.
We did, and this was actually the first home we had looked at, and we didn't like it at first. We did not like it. We just were like, oh, it's our first house, we should probably go and look at more.
And it was way more of a building site at the beginning, wasn't it?
Yeah.
By the time we came back, a lot more houses were up. It looked a lot more homely, and we did our research, didn't we? Because I don't think all new builds are worth their salt, really. You hear a lot of horror stories, but if you do your research, we're with Pallant Homes, and to be honest, they're really good.
I did actually find one that was up the road from here, and it was beautiful, incredible garden. Like, it was so long, open plan downstairs that had like the skylights in. It was like all like extensioned all out in the back, and it was gorgeous. However, there was no parking. It was a nightmare parking street, and the neighbour,
there's no garage.
No garage, and the neighbour was
a hoarder. Have you ever seen, what's that hoarding program on Channel 4, Channel 5?
Like their windows were like boarded up and completely overgrown, and we were just like, oh, is that going to be?
All the way to the top.
Yeah, it was really bad. Hi, darling.
That's a fire hazard, so a lot more value for this house, definitely.
Yeah, we looked at how much money we would need to spend in other houses to get it to how we wanted. We decided that we probably need to spend like 20-30 grand just to get the house looking how we wanted. So yeah, we just kind of went for this one in the end. I think we looked at about 6 or 7 houses. What's the best way to save for a deposit?
Best way to save for a deposit is put all of your money at the beginning of the month into your savings and work backwards. So you know what your phone bill is, you know what your gym is, you know how much money you need each month really to get by, and then throw everything else in and work backwards.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Pretend you're Brassic from the very beginning.
How much do I need to save?
A good rule of thumb is 10% deposit.
Yeah.
And I'd say, you know, put at least a third on top. Probably a half on top again for stamp duty, for solicitor fees, and just bear in mind furniture.
I'm trying to think of any other random expenses that we had that we were like, are you joking? We have to pay like £150 for that to be signed.
Well, it all gets, the biggest tip I can have is don't look into the fine print of your solicitor fees.
How did you pick your house? I think we picked it, big selling point was we're very close to the sea. Like, the sea is like just the other side of a main road that's just there. So the area definitely.
We knew we were going to get a dog as well, so that would be part of it when there's a lot of places.
Yeah, amazing dog walks around here. So yeah, I think that was the deciding factor, wasn't it? What's the most expensive part of buying a house other than the house itself? I would say stamp duty. Yeah, but then does that come into buying the house?
Yeah, maybe a little bit of it. Yeah, probably. If stamp duty, but if not, definitely the mirror that Elise made us buy for the ensuite. Oh Christ, we had to get a second mortgage for that. We
would never have been able to find a bit of glass that fitted into that space. You will know in the house tour video. I would do a house tour video for everyone, shall we?
I'll sell one of my kidneys.
Alright. What things do you wish you'd known about the buying process?
How lazy solicitors can be. You've got to keep on top of them because they don't chase each other. You have to get on top of it. If they're waiting for a file from the other solicitor, they will not chase it. That's happened both times I've done it. I might have just had 2 different bad solicitors, but you know, you got to keep on top of it. You got to chase them.
I chased my solicitor as well quite a bit, didn't I? Because I was getting really aggy with it all. I was like, you're taking the mick now. You've told us a date and it's not happened. And yeah, she said I made her cry.
You did, yeah.
I literally rang her and was like, what's an update? I made a solicitor cry, but I'm pretty sure didn't some of the neighbours say that they had the same issue with her, so I think it's her.
Yeah, but they didn't make her cry, did they?
No, apparently she was really upset.
Apparently she quit after.
Well, I think she's very sensitive. She needs to get a grip, if I'm honest, because I would never have intentionally made her cry. Do you have any saving tips for first-time buyers?
Well, again, just explore what's out there, because there is the saving, the government saving scheme, isn't there? Where is it? You put £200 away and you get 50.
Yeah, do you know that's what I used to do. Help to Buy ISA.
Help to Buy ISA, so definitely get on that, because you know, that adds right up.
Yeah, and I did do that, but however I don't think it then counted for me because I was moving in with Sean, someone who wasn't a first-time buyer. But if you're both first-time buyers, then definitely look to get that, because the government are giving you 50 quid per £200 that you put in, so definitely get on that. Do you have an ISA? And yeah, I had the Help to Buy ISA, and then I had a normal ISA with Nationwide, which is just a normal savings one. However, I don't think they have a great interest rate. I would personally look at the post office one for your house savings account. If you're looking to like save over the next couple of years and it's genuinely money that you don't want to touch and you don't want to go into each month, look at the post office one, because I'm pretty sure they have a 5% interest rate, which is really good, but you're only allowed to withdraw from it once a year, so there's that risk. You lose obviously the interest if you withdraw more, but it is really good. I get excited when my money's growing money on itself when it's in a good account. So yeah, definitely shop around. Comparethemarket.com will probably have loads on there that you can have a look at for savings account. Did you find it hard to get a mortgage?
Yeah, because of what we learned, there was a bit of a caveat, wasn't there, about it being a new build.
Yeah.
So a lot of banks wanted a 15% deposit for a new build.
Yeah, which was crazy.
For whatever reason. So in the end, there was only 2 banks that would even consider us.
Yeah.
So
Clydesdale
and I think Yorkshire Bank, and I think they're part of the same group anyway.
And also bear in mind that the first 2 years of your mortgage, I think your mortgage is higher. After the 2 years, I think your mortgage repayments can go down, which we're a year in.
At the beginning, you usually get a higher interest at the beginning. So when I remortgage, you can have a sort of 2 or 5 year fixed term, and mine was 2 years, ours is 2 years, and it did drop, even though at the beginning my mortgage was 450 a month for the flat, and it dropped to like 320 second time. You know, so it adds up.
Yeah, it does. Okay, so another question. What was the most stressful thing about buying a house?
I'd say it is you get to a point
that's quite hard
where you have to put quite a bit of a financial obligation down when it could still fall through. So you've got your decision in principle. You then got to put down a deposit to show you're willing to the guys. I've got then to sell my place. So all of a sudden you've got quite a lot of money in it here, and then if for whatever reason your full mortgage application fell through, you're out of pocket quite a bit. So that is quite stressful, and then just making all the sort of dots connect.
I think that was really more probably stressful for Sean as well, because he was selling his own place and I had nothing to do with that.
Because it was shared ownership, and because like the government or whatever had an interest, they had sort of a vested interest in it. You had to get a proper QS valuation, which runs out every 3 months. So every 3 months, QS solicitor would come in and do a proper valuation, rather than just an estate agent just picking something, picking a number out of the sky. It had to be sort of officially done, and that only lasted 3 months. So as you can imagine, you're not going to sell your house, find somewhere else. That's not going to be done and dusted within 3 months. So every time it trickled over, which it did, trickled over the first time, and then they gave me a bit of a deal on it the second time. But just things like that, it's just it's hundreds and hundreds of pounds each time. I think if this house had 2 more bedrooms, I think we'd be set for life, and I'd be more than happy.
I think it's just the bedrooms, because Sean works from home, so he needs an office, and I also need a little bit of space when I do my YouTube and my editing and things like that. So I kind of take over his office when I do that, and it's kind of like a lot of changeover, isn't it? Like, I'll move my stuff for you, and you move your stuff for me.
Also, the area is quiet. We're really good. We're such good mates. We live on the street. Yeah, we're right by the sea.
Yeah, which we love.
Larry.
Yeah.
The one key thing to take out of moving from one place to the next is, between us, we were saving for probably 10 years worth of saving, and my flat went up, more than that in 3 years. So more than we ever saved. So as soon as you get I would do everything that I could to get on that property ladder as soon as possible, because as soon as you do, it does only sort of put you further up.
Definitely. Well, that's it for today, guys. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. I hope it's giving you some sort of insight as to buying a house, some tips and tricks as to how we bought our first home, and I hope you've enjoyed this kind of little chit chat with Squidge today.
Right, enough of that. You went.
No.
On that note, we're going to the pub for a roast dinner.
Yeah, we are. We're off for a roast dinner, guys. So I hope you liked the video. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.